All right, hello there, thrill seekers. My name is Brad Warner. I am the author of such books as Hardcore Zen, Punk Rock Monster Movies, and the Truth About Reality. Don't Be a Jerk, and other practical advice from Dogen, Japan's greatest Zen master, which is also available now en français as Comprendre Dogen. And my latest book, The Other Side of Nothing, The Zen Ethics of Time, Space, and Being, plus 7 other books about Zen if you want to go and look those up. And what I want to present to you today is a song I wrote when I first started getting into Buddhism. Back in those days, I was the bass player for a hardcore punk band called Zero Defects. I still am the bass player for Zero Defects, but I was trying my hand at a little side light at writing country songs, and I wrote a country song about Buddha, which I don't know why, what got me doing that. I have no idea, but I wanted to show it to you, and I think this song might be a good way to introduce people to who Buddha was and what he did, maybe in a high school or college class, introduction to world religions or introduction to Buddhism or something like that. And if you want to use it that way, if you want to use this video that way, go right ahead and do it. If you want to learn the song yourself and play it for your students, go right ahead and do that too. The chords are C, F, and G. Anyway, here is the song. It's 3 minutes and 14 seconds long in case you want to skip ahead. This is the song, Buddha Was a Good Old Boy.
Way on down in India, a long, long time ago, there was a man who taught a way of living that you should know. The Eightfold Path for Noble Truth. All life is not joy. You can beat the wheel of samsara. Buddha was a good old boy. He sat there under the Bodhi tree, determined to find him the truth. He could no longer abide by the comforts that he had known in his youth. And when tomorrow came, he said, get the heck out of here. I got the Dharma to find. I can't do that when you are near. I don't want nothing to cloud of my mind. Buddha was a good old boy, my friend. Buddha was a good old boy. I think I'll say it once again. Buddha was a good old boy. And if you feel your life is dukkha, no way to find joy, just remember this, my friend. Buddha was a good old boy. Watch of the night, he saw his former lives and how insubstantial they were. The second watch found a heavenly eye, his faith had at last been confirmed. The third watch discovered the essential nature of all the things he had seen. The fourth watch, the morning star broke through, he found enlightenment in its gleam. Buddha was a good old boy, my friend. Buddha was a good old boy. I think I'll say it once again. Buddha was a good old boy. And if you see that your life is dukkha, no way to find joy, just remember this, my friend. Buddha was a good old, Buddha was a good old, Buddha was a good old, Buddha was a good old boy.
All right, that was the song Buddha Was a Good Old Boy, and I thought I'd explain the song. And again, if you want to use this video in a high school or college class about Buddhism, go right ahead. If you want to just paraphrase what I'm saying and say it yourself after you sing the song yourself, go right ahead and do that. But here's the explanation of the song. The song begins, way on down in India, a long, long time ago, there was a man who taught a way of living that you should know. And that's just the basic outline of who Buddha was. He was an Indian prince, although some people say he wasn't exactly a prince like Prince Charles was a prince before he became King Charles. He was more of a minor sort of royal figure, but he was a member of royalty. And he gave up his life of luxury to go on a kind of spiritual journey, and after going on that spiritual journey he found a deeper truth of life that he wanted to tell people about, and taught a way of living that you should know. And what he taught was the Eightfold Path and the Four Noble Truths. Now, that probably should have been the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path, but when you sing it, it sounds better if you do the Eightfold Path first. The Four Noble Truths, as they usually give them in English, are all life is suffering, the cause of suffering is desire, the way to end suffering is to end desire, and the way to end desire is to follow the Noble Eightfold Path, which I'll talk about in a second. Now, my teacher never really liked that explanation, and he gave a very different explanation, but I'm going to skip his explanation for now because that one gets a little bit deep. I'll give you sort of a revised explanation that a lot of people like better than the one I just gave you, which is, instead of saying all life is suffering, what the Buddha actually said was all life is dukkha, and that comes up later in the song. Dukkha means unsatisfactory experience. So all life is unsatisfactory experience. It doesn't mean that every minute of life is just suffering and nastiness and awfulness, but everything is in some way unsatisfactory, including the best moments you could ever have in your life. They're unsatisfactory because you always know in the back of your mind that it's going to end, sooner or later, and then you're going to be back to something else. It might not be horrible misery, but it's not going to be the best moment of your life. All life is suffering. The cause of suffering is desire. My teacher objected to that because he said desire is inescapable. You're always going to desire something. So a better way to look at that is to say that the cause of suffering is wanting things to be other than the way they are. If you can find a way to manage just being with things exactly as they are, then you don't suffer. Then the next bit is the cutting off of desire is the cutting off of suffering. That's, as I said, my teacher said you can't cut off desire. But it's more like if you can learn to, as I said, stay with this moment just as it is. And the fourth noble truth is the Noble Eightfold Path, which is a path of ethical action, which is supposed to remove suffering. And I'm going to tell you what they are. I never can remember them, but they're in my book, The Other Side of Nothing. I can never rattle them off the top of my head. They are right view, right thinking, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness or right meditation, and right balanced state, which is the kind of equanimity, the kind of thing that you get if you follow all of those eightfolds or the other sevenfolds of the Eightfold Path. I did videos on each of these, and I explain them in tremendous detail in this book, The Other Side of Nothing. And probably if you're watching this in a class or something, your teacher can explain exactly what each of those folds are, but that's what the Eightfold Path is. And then I end the little verse there, or the intro verse there, with all life is not joy, which is kind of a statement of all life is suffering, and then Buddha is a good old boy. The next part gets into the story of Buddha. So he sat there under the Bodhi tree, determined to find him the truth. What the Buddha did as his method to find the truth, after trying out various things, there was a belief in India at the time, and the belief still persists in India to this day, that one of the ways to discover the truth was they had this idea that mind and body were two separate things. They had the idea of the Atman, which is the sort of soul or mind that dwells within the body, that's immaterial and that dwells in the material body, and that the way to find the truth was to like almost destroy the body so that the Atman could shine forth. And the Buddha tried that and just found that he was getting more and more miserable. He wasn't relieving suffering, and he was about to die. And the story goes that he was sitting there emaciated, having not eaten for months or something like that for a long, long time, and just trying to destroy his body nearly. And a girl brought a little thing of rice porridge for him to eat, and he accepted it. And that was when he found what is called the middle way. The middle way is between any sort of extremes. Don't go to any sort of extremes, just find the middle way. And that was the practice he did. And you'll often see statues of Buddha holding a little bowl in his hand, and that bowl represents the bowl of rice porridge that the girl gave him. That's my dog Ziggy. He's barking at something. I don't know what it is. Then the next line is, he could no longer abide by the comforts that he had known in his youth. That alludes to the part of Buddha's story that I talked about a few seconds ago or a few minutes ago, which is that he was a prince and he was supposedly living a life of great comfort. In fact, his parents had taken him when he was a baby to some kind of a soothsayer or mystic who said this baby is either going to be a great king and great leader or a great spiritual person. And his father, the king, didn't want him to be a spiritual person, so he sheltered him from anything that could cause him any trouble or any strife. So he lived this life of great comfort. But after living this life of great comfort for something like 30 years, he decided, this isn't working, this is still suffering, and I'm going to go out and find the truth. And then the next bit is, when Mara came, he said, get the heck out of here. I got the Dharma defined, and I can't do that when you are near. I don't want nothing to cloud up my mind. This is alluding to a story which I've often found really fascinating ever since I first heard it, which is almost the same story as Christ's temptation in the desert. You know, if you know your Bible, or if you just heard about the Bible, you probably know that there's a story that Jesus goes off into the desert to, I don't know, meditate or something, it's not clear, and he gets tempted by the devil. Satan comes and tempts him with all these things to try to get him to get off this kick of trying to find, you know, the spiritual truth or whatever he was, or trying to commune with God or whatever Jesus was trying to do. Buddha has almost the same story 500 years earlier. He is meditating, and while he is meditating, this character called Mara, who's basically the kind of same thing as Satan, shows up and tries to give him almost the same things that the devil gives Jesus. You know, he tries tempting him with riches and you know, hot babes and all kinds of stuff. And when he doesn't go for that, he tries to scare him. And the Buddha just ignores all of this and touches the ground. And you'll often see statues of the Buddha touching the ground with one of his hands. And that is his way of grounding himself in the truth. And Mara then goes away when that happens. So that's what that is about. Then we have the chorus. Buddha was a good old boy, my friend. Buddha was a good old boy. I think I'll say it once again. Buddha was a good old boy. And if you see that your life is dukkha, no way to find joy, just remember this, my friend, Buddha is a good old boy. So that the dukkha is, if you find your life is suffering and no way to find joy, just remember Buddha was a good old boy. Then the last verse is the story of Buddha's night of enlightenment. So supposedly he sat under a Bodhi tree, which is kind of a fig tree, which we have out in this backyard somewhere. I don't know if it's showing up on camera, but it's back there somewhere. And he supposedly sat under this fig tree all night one night, and he probably did a lot more meditation than just that, but the night of his enlightenment. And the first watch of the night, he saw his former lives and how insubstantial they were. The actual text, which I was able to find, says that he was recalling his former lives, and in the Jataka tales, which is old tales about Buddha, that says there's 550 of them that he recalled. Maybe he recalled even more than that. And he found that there was no enduring substance to any of these lives. And he also found the unreality of Atman, this idea that there is an immaterial soul living in your material body. The second watch, he discovered the heavenly eye. His faith had at last been confirmed. The faith had at last been confirmed is sort of my interpolation, but I imagined him kind of, when this happened, he felt like, oh, I'm really on the right track. And the use of the third eye is, according to the old scriptures, that he discovered the law of karma, the law of cause and effect, that everything is governed by the law of cause and effect, and he surveyed the 5 places of rebirth. So in Buddhism, there's this idea of rebirth, reincarnation, and there are 5 basic... There's actually, if you go into the literature, there's thousands of different places you can be reborn, but they all fall into one of these 5 categories, which is heaven, the realm of the Titans. I don't know if that's like the Marvel character Titans, but these kind of warring spirits or warring gods. Hungry ghosts, which is sort of creatures or spirits that wander the earth forever hungry. Hell, and in Buddhism there isn't just one hell, there's bunches of hells, and you don't stay in hell forever, and you don't stay in heaven forever. You stay in hell for a certain amount of time. That's a place of rebirth. But eventually you die in hell, or you die in heaven, and then you re-enter the cycle of rebirth. The animal realm, like Ziggy, my dog, I'll show him at the end of the video, and the human realm. And I forgot to say, the song also mentions you can beat the wheel of samsara. And the wheel of samsara is basically that. The wheel of being reborn in heaven, hell, Hungry Ghost, the realm of Titans, the animal realm, or the human realm. Okay, and then the song goes, the third watch of the night he discovered the essential nature of all the things he had seen. I'm not sure exactly where I got that. I remember that being a quote from a book, but I can't find what book it was. But according to the sort of stuff that I found online, the official version is that he discovered the 12-fold chain of codependent co-origination, which is a really complicated way of saying that everything has a cause, and there's this 12-fold kind of formula for understanding that. And I wrote extensively about the 12-fold chain of codependent co-origination in my book Sit Down and Shut Up, which I didn't mention, and it's in chapter 13. It should be in chapter 12, right? They are ignorance, which is the cause of action, which is the cause of consciousness, which is the cause of name and form, which is the cause of the 6 senses. Buddhists count 6 senses, and the 6th sense isn't like the 6th sense in that old movie. It's more like a kind of the place where all the other 5 senses kind of come together is called the sense of mind, which is the 6th sense. That is the cause of contact, which is the cause of feeling, which is the cause of love, or sometimes translated as craving or desire, which is the cause of taking, which is the cause of coming into existence, which is the cause of birth, which is the cause of aging and death. And it's too much to try to explain all of those, but if you want to find it in the book, or if you want to ask your teacher, if you're watching this with a teacher, go ahead and do that. So that's what he discovered, and that is the essential nature of all the things that he had seen. And the fourth watch, the morning star broke through. He found enlightenment in its gleam, is the last line of that verse. And that is about the moment when the Buddha felt like he got it. So he'd been sitting all night, and the morning star rose, Venus in the sky. And somehow when he saw the morning star rising, he suddenly felt like, oh, I get it now. And that was his moment of great awakening, and that is the moment when he became the Buddha, because Buddha just means the awakened one. It's not really his name. His name was probably something like Siddhartha Gautama, and he was sometimes also called Shakyamuni, which is the wise person of the Shakya clan. But he became known as the Buddha, the awakened one, after that moment, and that's when he went on to go and try to teach what he found to the world, and he spent the next 45 years of his life doing that, wandering up and down India, teaching people how to meditate and how to live an ethical life and so on. That's the way of living that you should know that I mention in the song. So there you go. That's the song Buddha Was a Good Old Boy. I thought maybe that might be a good thing for folks to enjoy. And like I say, if you want to use it for any purposes, any sort of teaching purposes, go right ahead. This is me giving you permission to sing the song if you want. The chords are C, F, and G, as I said. So very easy to learn, very easy to play, and the lyrics are right there on the screen. So there you go. Now, I make my living mostly through donations, so if you want to donate to me, if you're watching this on YouTube, there are links right below in the description of this video to where you can donate to me via PayPal or Patreon. Or if you don't want to do that, you can go to the URL that you're seeing on the screen, which is hardcorezen.info/donate. That is hardcorezen, sorry, somewhere over here, hardcorezen.info/donate. As I say, that's how I make my living, and I appreciate your support, but as I always say, you don't got to support me if you don't want to support me. All right, we will see you next time. Have a good time all the time. Bye. All right, there's my doggy Ziggy. He was listening to me do this song. What do you think of Buddha Was a Good Old Boy, Ziggy? Do you like that song? You like country music? Country music about Buddhism? All right, let's go inside and edit the video. Talk to you later, Ziggy. Bye.